base.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's really going to happen truthfully, but yeah. Jay?
Just, I just want to congratulate you too. It's really wonderful kids in a way, and coming here, it's really wonderful, especially out in front there in the area. I mean, it's really.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's been, that's first impression. Yeah.
I was just going to suggest in the future when you get some money, maybe we could get a bench out there, because, you know, it's difficult with people waiting for cabs
Sure.
and stuff out there.
Sure.
And just standing around. We need to have a bench.
Signage. A sign. No, we don't need a sign.
Marilyn?
You mentioned a couple of times that March 29th, there was $7,000 and then came a couple of days later it was zero. Is there any explanation for that? I'm not
Well,
clear.
there was I did explain it. I mean, there was a statement that had, was based on accumulation of probably 3 months, I'm guessing, it
Oh,
looks
okay.
like, of reimbursement. So it was kind of like for January, February, March.
I got it.
They add up to about that. So, but I don't have the breakdown of what those, I mean, I see the invoice total, but I don't see the actual invoice. So I don't know how the numbers add up to that. It's just that it is pretty consistent with what it has been over the last years, about $2,000 a month reimbursements to River Shores. And I just based that on the $12,000 October payment, which I'm assuming is from April through October, 6 months worth at $2,000 a month. So, you know, apparently that particular bill doesn't have to get paid necessarily monthly. It might be paid quarterly, it might be paid semi-annually, it might be paid annually. I mean,
I understand.
it just seems like, you know, just from what I can see, that depending on whatever the circumstances or whatever monies were needed at the time, it seems like a judgment was made to put it off, like, you know, but, I mean, eventually it was wrapped up by April 1st. So. Yes, I'm sorry, Lisa. Hi.
The conversation about the trash. Not that something to be voted on or decided, but something for consideration. I know I'm Lisa Wright from River Bend, and some of our residents would like to do recycling, but we don't have recycling bins. And my understanding is the ones we have are River Shores only. So is that something that we can consider as a community, as you're reorganizing some of these things, if we can think through that to where maybe we have community recycling and not individual?
Well, I think, Lisa, it's been decided by, like, River Terrace, who I represent, we've decided for our building not to have recycling, because it's hard to tell whose recycling bin is whose, and the proximity to the buildings. I mean, even parking can be a little confusing, because it's like, this spot is right near where my apartment is, but it's really not. I'm really not supposed to park there, you know, so it's, you know, it's one of those things where I'm speaking for River Terrace. We've decided not to do the recycling, even though we want to. I miss it, I really, but people weren't following the rules, you know, basically.
And I'm just trying to express something that's come up within our community,
Yeah.
the desire from people, and so it's not necessarily something that has to be done by Middle River Club, but I just put it out there since we keep reconsidering some of this stuff.
No, I love the idea. I love it. I wish people would, you know, would probably do it the right way, and then it would probably still be around.
So Lisa, each building paid for their own recycling, and each building stopped recycling.
And that's the way it used to be.
Correct.
Because
It
still
doesn't
has to be
mean
that.
that River Bend can't reinstitute
I
recycling.
realize that, but we're reorganizing all this stuff, and is it something that could be a community thing and not yours and mine, his and hers?
If it's a Middle River Club thing, then the Middle River Club ends up paying for it.
Which then we ultimately end up paying for in the long run anyways.
Yes, it would mean probably our quarterlies would go up.
Right, and I just said it was food for thought. For
Yeah.
consideration.
And you know, basically, I'm trying to simplify things as much as possible. So, you know, there isn't all this reimbursement back and forth, because in the end, it starts getting like, all right, you know, direct TVs in here, but you get a trade-off because you have internet in the clubhouse, and then, you know, you got parking spaces in front of the club, when somebody has a function, they can't use them. I mean, it's like, you know, if everybody could just kind of relax a little bit, I think sometimes we get too involved with splitting hairs, then, you know, it just, you know.
Just quick spot.
Right. If someone felt strong enough about recycling, you really could do that on your own.
You can.
And bring it to the town
People
dump or
have taken
whatever,
theirs in.
and put it in the appropriate
Right. Patrick.
area.
Yeah, you mentioned a few things about finances, obviously,
Right.
and the budget from last year and the annual report. Will those be available for us to see how that all came together? Because
I can get
in
copies.
December's meeting, it sounded like there was 89,000 or whatever, and then we're down to 7,000.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just going with what I saw, and this is like just flipping through papers, is because, you know, it wasn't until I downloaded the flash drive that I actually got a copy of the 2023 annual report. And that's where it shows on the financial statement the accountant provided that it's estimated to have funding of $81,027 by the end of the year in a reserve, okay?
By
I mean, it's
last
right here.
year or was it this year?
But on the budget, it shows that we were gonna budget to have 26,000, so there is a discrepancy there, so I don't know, you know, we should have more than zero, is all I know, okay?
Yes,
That's all. So,
that's kind of what I was asking is,
Yeah.
will there be kind of, do you need assistance with determining that?
yeah, no, I mean, it's all to come, but I mean, even the bills I paid and brought up to speed that were, some of them were past due, it seems like in general monthly probably is only about $12,000 worth of, I think we can save between $15,000 and $20,000 a quarter if there's nothing unusual like a $7,000 pool patio repair, or, you know, maybe a $3,000 pool equipment failure, or, I mean, just in general, like the gas, electric, telephone, insurances, you shouldn't have to depend on the first quarter's payment from the condos in order to pay the insurances that are due. You should have, in my opinion, you know, $60,000 in your reserves to be able to start the year off without having to hope that everybody pays on time and everything else like that.
And that's kind of what I was trying to get to is, if we, the number you were talking about, was that for last December or this December?
Well, it was in the budget for this year. I mean, and last year's passed. I'm just saying this, on the financial report, it was estimated for the 2024 funding requirement to be $81,000. But the budget, when we had the meeting, the spread only showed 26,000. So there is a discrepancy there. I'm guessing that it's because of the driveway. Because, and it might be just a clerical error, but the driveway was redone. And in this financial report, it shows funding for $52,000 by the end of this year for a replacement driveway, which we don't need because it's good for 20 years or whatever it is. So I think it's just kind of, but the point being is that we should have somewhere between $26,000 and $81,000 at the end of the year saved, you know, for, and this is even without regard to what might be required, which first or for next year, we don't know what the reserve requirements might be for any of these particular items: driveway, air conditioning units, painting, pool, roof, seawall. 10 years ago. Won't last forever. Needs to be planned for.
Okay. So that's kind of what I'm asking is, you mentioned a few statements, but invoices lacking detail for any.
Exactly. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, all I know is what I have been given and can find. I mean, I've been given a lot of information, and it's been good information, but I kind of have to organize it. and that's what I've been doing. But I'm just telling you from what I know today. I may know something more tomorrow or next week, but any information that I have is, you know, you can have copies of whatever I have. I mean, that's fine. But my point is, we should be saving about $15,000 to $20,000 a month. So we're already into, you know, a third of the year is finished, basically. You know, so, and we have zero. So between, in the next 8 months, you know, we should have more money saved up by the end of the year.
Yeah, and each of the associations makes payments to the Middle River Club on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis?
It's quarterly traditionally, although I learned a little something here, okay? The statement that's given, or at least one of the statements that's given, shows kind of like the statement I got regarding the $7,000 that came out of the account. It's a statement and it shows invoices and numbers and due dates, but it doesn't actually show the invoice. In other words, it's a statement that includes invoice numbers and amounts, but there's not actually an invoice that I can see. So basically it's a statement with, you know, notations that it's for various months. So I was under the you know, because, you know, River had decided to pay monthly based on our cash flow and whatnot, but then we learned that the money was needed to pay the insurance, you know, so we made an adjustment, and then we'll continue to be quarterly now instead of monthly. But at the time, when you look at it, there is a statement, and it has invoices that are due in the future, but you're expected to pay them up front. So it's kind of like, it was a little bit of adjustment to that. But now, being on the inside more, I can see why it was important that the condos paid them quarterly. But I think the obligation is to pay them at least monthly. So, I mean, various buildings have various issues and may have a cash flow problem at the time. So I think there might be some consideration that if you can only pay a month or two, that, you know, but it's expected that you pay quarterly, and that should continue. So, you know. But yes, John Moriarty in there. Yes.
Moriarty, 701 River Terrace. To piggyback on the recycling, I know that it's up to each of the condo association to pay for their garbage service. So technically, no River Club right now does not have garbage. I don't know that whole history. So, but if all three of us were back to putting recycling bins out, there wouldn't be so much of a territorial issue, if you will, in my opinion.
Right.
I know that our condo voted recently not to reinstall recycling bins. I was in the minority. I'm on that board, and I was in the minority. But I do know that it increased our pickup. We have an extra garbage pickup, which we pay for, because we don't have recycling. And I don't know about everybody else, but I'd say more than half the volume of my waste is recycled that now goes directly into the dumpster. Not everyone recycles. We're always going to have a certain amount of dumpster recycling in there anyway.
Well, even like, I mean, a lot of people are getting deliveries in recyclable boxes, but they don't want to break down the boxes.
Right. Well, all of those
So, I mean, it really is.
I'm just piggybacking on these points that I think it would be a great idea if we could have
I think it's
among the
important.
three condo stations a further discussion of that, maybe a future date. One of our issues too in our building was that because we have this construction project going on, we used to keep our bins up against the bicycle rack. On one side was ours, the other side was with the shorts, I believe. And you know, now we have no place at the moment to put them. So that was another issue. So it may not be something we can solve soon, but I would suggest that at one point the three condo association have a conversation about that, just as Lisa was saying, and maybe talk about it. You know, some of us care about recycling, some of us are skeptical we actually do this. But it does cost us more money, if I'm not mistaken, to put all our recycling into our dumpsters. It's extra pickup day a week. And is the main entrance. We don't have any security cameras there at the moment, if I'm not mistaken, correct? At the main entrance? Okay, well, anyway, what reminded me of this is we have those beautiful new planters with flowers, and I think they look amazing. We all know, or some of us know, the history of one time, several years ago, when we had 2 benches out there, and I think somebody brought up, should we have a bench outside the gate? We used to have 2 benches next to the fountain. One night, somebody drove in with old benches made out of cement, picked them up, threw them in their pickup truck, and off they went, right? I think that's what the history was of us. Right now, I'm afraid that we're going to suddenly wake up one morning and all of those planters are going to be robbed by somebody who says, instant landscaping. And they're going to pull in at 3 in the morning, pile in the back of the pickup truck and go. I'm not saying that we solve the problem if we have cameras, but if we had cameras that could see license plates, I mean, could see it, witness it, for future thought, the River Club might want to, at some point in the future, for all of us, for security reasons, have
I agree,
cameras that
John.
actually work.
I think that would be something also to discuss during the upgrade of the security gate
Right,
system
exactly.
in general. I think this day and age in general, crime is up. You know, people feel less secure, and I think the security cameras.
Yeah, and again, because we see it on highways now, good cameras can pick up every license plate.
Just one thing, planters has a 2.5-foot rod driven into the ground and bent over inside the park.
Thank you very much.
So if you want to have
That's yeah.
And we've also had, as some people don't know, we've had 7 or 8 clusia bushes just dug up in the middle of the night.
Well, that's what I was
And
gonna
now they're
say.
replacing those. So it's like thieves will come along and see it.
So some of the, that's just in general, that's kind of what we're up against, and I think most people are aware of this. It's not only making things nice and pretty and wonderful, it's that we're constantly, bushes that were planted are stolen. Benches that are put out there are stolen or damaged. Sprinkler systems that are used to maintain the gardens are damaged or run over or broken or something. It's just never easy. It's like non-stop. So you fix something and you make it nice, and you feel like you're beating your head against the wall because it doesn't last anywhere near where you think it would last because of one reason or another. And when you have zero money, you can't keep, it's a pit. And so that's why I can understand why some things maybe weren't addressed or addressed like we like or as soon as we like. But that's part of it. It's like either people don't know how to take care of this stuff, or outside of the community it's just vandals, people have a grudge, people have a whatever, or like what you have and want it for themselves and don't want to buy it and steal it from you. I mean, it's just one thing after another. So I get it, but that doesn't mean like things like the club, that room, it doesn't mean that things shouldn't continue to be addressed and taken care of. It doesn't mean like, it's going to get stolen anyways, let's not do it. I mean, you just have to put a lot of thought into securing it as much as possible without it costing an arm and a leg more than what it took to do it in the first place, to secure it. So,
Just one more quick question.
Yeah.
I happened to notice the other day, I guess I never did before, we have 2 security cameras in the clubhouse. I don't know if they're active or not, and where they might be, or if they're done.
They are not active. They are not active.
They're not active. And I know that went in probably, I'm guessing, the time somebody stole a brand new giant TV out of the clubhouse.
Exactly. You can't have nice things sometimes.
I know. So I'm just asking.
I know. That's exactly right. No, it's true though. It's sad. It's sad, but it's kind of what we're up against. And like even keeping the clubhouse open. I mean, the clubhouse is our house. It should be open to whoever wants to use it, but you have to pick up after yourself. You spill something, wipe it up. I mean, Basil and Steve aren't here to be your servants. It's kind of like, I don't mean you, I mean the community. I mean, they do their job, but it doesn't mean, they gotta go above and beyond what's expected in general of them, of the community. So people just have to take more personal responsibility, in my opinion. Yeah.
I just
where I was